Hey everybody, my name's Paul Austin Jr., aka Boy Green. Welcome to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. Before we get started, first off, a special shout out to a loyal sponsor of mine, Edward Delgado, a diehard New York Jets fan. He has a special business. You can look it up on Facebook. It's El Chapo of Flags, designing custom banners for your office, for your man cave, for your tailgate, whatever you'd like. Make sure you check out El Chapo of Flags. He made this awesome brand spanking new banner behind me. Make sure you check him out. Today's video, of course, is the top 5 takeaways from the Sam Darnold trade. And just real quick for you guys. There you go. I'm sure a lot of you guys have some sort of memorabilia and items like this, and that's just one of many for me. And let's just give that a little peek. But let's jump right in. Again, this is the top 5 takeaways from the Sam Darnold trade. First off, and we'll work from 5 to 1. Number 5, solid haul for Jets GM Joe Douglas. Here is the compensation. You guys are well aware of this by now, but let's review it. The Carolina Panthers receive, of course, quarterback Sam Darnold. And the New York Jets receive a 2021 sixth-round pick, so a sixth-round pick in this year's draft. And also, next year, they received both a second and a fourth-round draft pick. Now, this isn't a Jamal Adams-level haul here for the Jets, where most Jet fans patted Joe Douglas on the back, said, wow, what an incredible haul. No one ever thought you could get this for a safety kind of thing. But I think most of us, most rational Jet fans, see this, and you can be satisfied with the compensation and the return. Quite frankly, the market was drying up. The Jets, at the beginning of this offseason, once the season officially ended, they moved on from Adam Gase. I spoke with Benjamin Albright, and there were about a dozen teams interested in the mix for Sam Darnold. And the Jets slow played things. They said, hey, we'll take calls. You could call us. We'll kind of talk about Sam Darnold, but we're not ready to make any decisions. We want to look at the young quarterbacks in the draft, etc. And eventually teams went, screw this, we're moving on. A couple of examples, Indianapolis Colts said Carson Wentz time, they moved on. The Chicago Bears during free agency, Andy Dalton, they moved on. Washington, Ryan Fitzpatrick, they moved on. Now, some of these teams weren't completely removed from the mix, but they weren't going to give the same compensation they would have prior to some of these moves. The 49ers traded up to 3 in the draft to go grab their guy. Ultimately, the Sam Darnold sweepstakes came down to 2 teams. The Carolina Panthers, obviously, who won the sweepstakes, and the Denver Broncos. John Elway, a huge man crush for one Sam Darnold. And ultimately, the Panthers gave the Jets, quote-unquote, an offer. They couldn't refuse an offer they didn't want to lose. And that's really, I think, the best way to quantify this, because the Jets, again, they make this trade on April 5th on a Monday. And that's well ahead, obviously, of the NFL draft, which is 3 weeks and change away. That's when they made the deal. Now, they could have waited a little bit longer to see how things could have played out. But, of course, what if a quarterback, let's say they wait to the draft, right? And a quarterback drops to 8 to Carolina they weren't expecting. They no longer are in the Sam Darnold sweepstakes. Of course, if a quarterback doesn't fall there, maybe Carolina's a bit more desperate, and they offer the Jets a better package. But again, that's where you think things get risky. I don't think the Jets wanted to get that risky. They felt very comfortable getting 3 draft picks back for a quarterback that obviously they didn't have in their long-term plans. Now, according to the NFL draft value chart, this is from NFL research, the Jets essentially got, when you combine all the picks together and kind of evaluate it, they got an early second-round pick, a borderline late first-round pick, depending on how you want to look at it. And while I said the Jets would get a first-round pick at the end of the day, obviously I was incorrect, so I want to take the big L on that one. The Jets got a good haul. And by the way, a fun nugget here from Rich Cimini of ESPN. This was the 11th player trade by Joe Douglas during his less than 20-plus months on the job here. So Joe Douglas, obviously a big trader. But number 5 takeaway here, solid haul for Joe Douglas, all things considered, especially since the Jets didn't seem to have a lot of leverage. Number 4, great fit for Sam Darnold. I think all Jets fans should be wishing Sam Darnold the best of luck with the Carolina Panthers. This is a stand-up guy who tried to do everything he could to reach the next level, and obviously he never did, for some reasons that are his fault and some reasons that aren't. Coaching, personnel, really, and obviously some of him. Ultimately he has to make the plays or not make the plays. And we harken back to so many terrible plays he made, whether in the Miami game, in the red zone, where he threw that horrible interception, or occasionally throwing it to double or triple coverage. And fans are confused. What were you seeing there, Darnold? So it wasn't obviously all on the coaching and everything else, but that didn't help. And Sam Darnold obviously was never put in a position to try to reach the next level, and he couldn't. But I'm going to say this as a Jets fan, a diehard Jets fan, the self-proclaimed biggest Jets fan on the planet. I didn't have the same level of angst at the end of the Sam Darnold run that I had in, let's say, the end of the Mark Sanchez run. And what I mean by that is when I saw some games, I went to a Buffalo Bills game live. By the way, they do not like Jet fans, for those who are surprised by that. I went to the Ralph and checked out a Jets game. I was with a lot of Buffalo Bills fans, unfortunately, in the wrong section I was. And long story short, when the game's going on, I'm like, Mark Sanchez, don't throw a pick, don't throw a pick, don't throw a pick, throws a pick. Like Geno Smith, I was like, oh, God, this guy's going to have a turnover any second. I never felt that way about Sam Darnold, despite the fact he had turnover issues at USC and obviously had turnover issues in the NFL. I never had that same level of angst or hatred towards Sam Darnold. He's a very likable guy. And I still even believe now that Sam Darnold is going to light it up in Carolina. So back to the takeaway here, I think it's a great fit for Sam Darnold. He's got Matt Rule, a guy who really loved Sam Darnold. That's a big reason Matt Rule is almost the head coach of the New York Jets, is because he believed in Sam Darnold. He really likes Sam Darnold. So there was obvious interest there from a Panthers-Jets potential trade. They got Joe Brady, who formerly of LSU and is an offensive wizard. They've got a slew of weapons on the Panthers. They got Robbie Anderson, reunited, and it feels so good. So they got Robbie Anderson, phenomenal. DJ Moore, Run CMC, a.k.a. Christian McCaffrey. Again, the team around them is fantastic. And for all the Sam Darnold truthers that are out there, and I know the fan base is somewhat split on this, but now we're not going to have the debate much anymore because, again, it's over. But the quote-unquote NFL, and it's almost 30 for 30 style. Play the music. It's like, what if I told you Sam Darnold went to a competent franchise? What if I told you they put solid weapons around him? What if I told you he became a viable starting quarterback? What would you say? Cut the 30 for 30 music here. And now we're going to get to see it. I'm curious to see if Sam Darnold will be able to live up to the hype, and he's going to have a great opportunity. Test tube, science, lab rat. I'm intrigued to see from a Jets fan perspective, how does Sam Darnold do? Is he going to look great in Carolina? Is he just going to suck? Is he going to continue to have the propensity for turnovers? I think a lot of Jet fans feel he will. On the other side, I'm going to be fascinated. Here's the other thing here before we get to the rest of the takeaways. Again, we're doing the top 5 takeaways from the Sam Darnold trade. The Panthers believe in Sam Darnold. And if you've been watching my videos, I've been saying this since day one, that whoever trades for Sam Darnold, whatever team that is, again, you could look back at my past videos and analyze it. Whatever team traded for Sam Darnold was believing in him. They weren't throwing a late round flyer at the wall and seeing if it stuck. If they traded for him, they believed in him. They believed that they could get the best out of him. And that's what the Panthers are doing. So not only from the trade haul can you tell that with a second, a fourth, and a sixth, but you can also tell that because the Carolina Panthers, shortly after this trade was announced by both the teams, the Jets, the Panthers, and all of the NFL insiders, it was shortly there reported that the Panthers would exercise the 5th-year option on Sam Darnold's contract, something they are doing a month in advance, by the way. And that is significant for a lot of reasons. First off, for those who don't know, there is a slight rule change this year in the CBA for 5th-year options. In the past, it was injury only. So if you exercise the option and insert player gets injured, you owe him all the money. Not anymore. Now that 5th-year option is fully guaranteed. So they are fully guaranteeing his contract, essentially, which means they believe in him. They are buying in. They're saying, hey, we're not just taking a flyer on this guy. We're bringing him in, and we believe he could be a franchise quarterback, and they're paying him a lot of money to do so. Again, if you equate the average per year into what he's making this year to next year, we're talking about like around 11, 12 million per year, which again is peanuts at the quarterback position. But again, they believe. And Jet fans, by the way, the official schedule release isn't out yet. It may be in the first week of May with COVID, so it's maybe a little later than normal. Pay attention to this. The Jets are scheduled to travel to play the Carolina Panthers during the 2021 season. Again, the official schedule will come out in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to circling that one on the schedule. Could be a nice primetime opportunity. Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football. Keep an eye out for that one. All right, number 3 takeaway from the Sam Darnold trade. A troubling trend. As great of a haul as the Jets got for a player, they clearly, again, had no future plans for. It's a repeat case here of another one bites the dust. Here's a list of the recent first round picks by the Jets. And this is across a consecutive 8-year period. We're going to start in 2018 with Sam Darnold. Obviously, he was traded. 2017, Jamal Adams, traded. 2016, Darren Lee, traded. 2015, Leonard Williams, traded. 2014, Calvin Pryor, traded. 2013, D. Milner, cut immediately out of the league. Sheldon Richardson, traded. Same thing. They had 2 first-round picks in 2013 for the Darrelle Revis trade. 2012, cut. Quentin Coples, out of the league. 2011, Muhammad Wilkerson, cut. I mean, guys, no wonder the New York Jets have been terrible for this long. How the hell could you win or even be average with that level of ineptitude? First-round picks are supposed to be cornerstones of your franchise, and we thought a couple years ago that both Sam Darnold and Jamal Adams were cornerstones of the franchise, and we're writing farewell letters now. Again, the Jets need to hit, and that's just a troubling trend when you look at a bunch of their recent first-round picks. Let's go through the top 2 takeaways from the Sam Darnold trade. And Sam Darnold may be gone. The debates may be gone among Jets fan bases, and I'm not potentially mad about that. We've really run its course. But while Sam Darnold may be gone, the ghost of Sam Darnold will remain. And let's hope that's good news. Let me explain. Rewind a few years ago, and I could speak for myself. I was elated when Sam Darnold was drafted. I'll re-release the video. Again, you'll probably see it on my social media of my reaction to when Sam Darnold was drafted. In the giddiness in my voice, there was a live camera on me during the draft, and I was like, oh my God, they got Sam Darnold. Yeah, put it on, Sammy. Put it on. That's part of the viral video. And you have to ask yourself, especially when you look at all the first round picks, but why did it go wrong for the Jets and for Sam Darnold? And when you look back at it, was he put in a position to succeed? Obviously, he struggled on his own, but was he put in a position to succeed? So I jumped back and looked at the roster that Sam Darnold had around him as a rookie. Here are some of the players. Bilal Powell. Again, I love the guy, but come on. Okay, so Bilal Powell, Elijah McGuire, Quincy Enunwa, injured. Robbie Anderson, a one-trick pony that kind of developed later. Terrell Pryor, again, a gadget player. Terrible offensive line. Spencer Long, James Carpenter, Brandon Shaw. Need I say more? Again, he had nothing around him. It was crap. And now, as the Jets trade Sam Darnold, obviously it kind of paves the path here for the Jets to draft their own quarterback. And the question has to be, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So there are some Jet fans who say, okay, you trade away Sam Darnold, but how is this number 2 pick quarterback going to be any different than Sam Darnold? And that is up to the Jets. But look at the roster they have put around whoever is going to be the quarterback, and that's just right now. I think they're going to add a pass catcher or 2 in the 2021 NFL draft, but here's who they have right now. Corey Davis, Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder. Stop right there for a second. T.O. Right there, that trio is the best wide receiving core the Jets have had since 2015. That's when they had Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker. Now, that speaks little of what the Jets have been able to do because they've just had garbage at the position since then. But even still, those wide receivers right there are solid. It's fine. It's average. Again, they should shoot for above average. Again, that's why I think they're going to make some more noise in the 2021 NFL draft than I fully expect them to. But look at the rest of the team. So running backs, they're system guys right now. Ty Johnson, Josh Adams. We'll see what they do in the draft with Michael Pirine. But in this offense, it seems less important to have some primo running back. But we'll see. The offensive line, I'll be honest and candid, it's not great, but again, they're going to get some help from there as well. But I think the biggest portion of this, again, the Sam Darnold ghost, should be a constant reminder for this front office to make sure whoever the quarterback coming in is that you surround him with an infrastructure that can succeed. You surround him with talent so you can get the most out of the player. And I think the biggest component is coaching. Here is the coach that the Jets had as their offensive coordinator for Sam Darnold. Okay? Jeremy Bates. This is a guy who was living in the goddamn mountains before he came to coach for the Jets. The Jets, with Sam Darnold, the number 3 overall pick, a guy that a lot of experts thought could be the savior of this franchise, and now he's a member of a different football team. Okay? That so-called savior was entrusted to a dude who gave up on football and was living in the goddamn mountains. Las Montañas. What the flying flabbergasting, man. Are you kidding me? So they entrusted him. Why? I don't know now, a couple years later. But again, the infrastructure wasn't there. Now let's look at what the Jets have now. Obviously, Robert Saleh is unproven, and so is the sexy offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, little brother of Matt LaFleur, is with the Green Bay Packers. But the fact of the matter is both are widely respected as opposed to Bates, who again came from the goddamn mountains. And they were tasked, they being, Bates and Bowles and that whole group, were tasked with getting Darnold to the next level, and that never happened. Whoever is coming in at quarterback for the Jets at number 2, they're in a much better position to succeed, not just talent-wise. The roster is going to be even better. We'll get into it in just a second. But also the coaching is going to be that much better. And it's up to the Jets to end the madness, which brings us to the number 1 takeaway on our list before we close this video. And Joe Douglas has put his massive cojones on the table. Sam Darnold is gone. That era is now over. James Morgan is going to be the guy for a couple of weeks, Jet fans, so get those James Morgan jerseys. But the Jets and Joe Douglas are hitting the reset button. He's about to pick, he being Joe Douglas, is about to pick, quote unquote, his guy. And the time for excuses are over. He has to get this right. He has the choice of the litter of anyone not named Trevor Lawrence in this 2021 NFL draft. And quite frankly, he has to get it right. It is a rich quarterback class. And this is a class, by the way, that is guaranteed right now after the Sam Darnold trade to go 1, 2, 3 quarterback. The Jaguars are taking Trevor Lawrence. The Jets are taking somebody. It's presumed to be Zach Wilson, but again, more time can change things. And number 3, the 49ers traded up from 12 to 3. They didn't trade up from 12 to 3 to pick an offensive lineman. They moved up to pick a quarterback. And then you have the Falcons at 4, who quite frankly could pick a quarterback to sit behind Matt Ryan for a few years, or they're trading out and someone else is trading up for a quarterback. So the point is, the number 1 takeaway here is Joe Douglas has to get this right. He has to pick the right quarterback. And number 2, he has to build an infrastructure for success. Here's the thing. The Jets have 10 picks in this year's draft. They have 11 picks in next year's draft. And here are some of the quality. They have 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years, 3 second-round picks, 3 third-round picks, and 2 fourth-round picks all within the next 2 years. This team has assets. Now it's up to Joe Douglas to turn those assets into productive pieces to build a proper infrastructure they never did for Sam Darnold. That is the number 1 takeaway from this Sam Darnold trade. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me here on this YouTube video. Again, make sure you check us out every Monday for Mock Draft Monday content. And coming up next Monday, ironically enough, we'll have our first Mock Draft Monday post Sam Darnold trade, so have some time to simmer on this. We'll have a very special guest joining us next Monday. And make sure, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up on this video. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, remember, custom banner behind me. You want a banner for your man cave? If you're a Jets fan, which obviously you should be if you're watching this YouTube channel, because it's 100% New York Jets content all day, every day. But even if you're not a Jets fan, Edward Delgado, again, El Chapo of Flags, you can look that up on Facebook and give them a like as well. They can make something custom and beautiful for you. Just DM him your ideas and he can make it come to life. Again, this is Paul Liston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. Make sure you follow me on social media as well, at BoyGreen25, BOY, Green the color 25, top 5 takeaways from the Sam Darnold trade. And my final thought here is the debate is over. The Jets, it's not Sam Darnold versus rookie quarterback. We know it'll be rookie quarterback. The next question is, who is it going to be? We'll discuss that over the coming weeks.